Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. On today's episode, we're going to unbox a fresh delivery of wild collected Australian SPS. Alright, thank you for joining me on yet another episode of Parker's Reefs, and as touched on in the intro, today we are in for a treat because today we will be unboxing the freshest wild collected SPS you're going to see from Australia anywhere. This was cut off the Great Barrier Reef less than 48 hours before being put into the store tanks. So you're going to see these incredible Aussie acros as fresh as they possibly come. What we're going to do is we're going to go up to my local fish shop, see Dave there, actually watch him unbox these wild acro colonies, put them in the display tank and have a good close-up look at them all. Then what we're going to do is get Dave to take us through a little bit of the process of where these are collected from, some of the highlights of them, and just some of the things to look out for when you are purchasing wild SPS, because it is something that does take a little bit of a trained eye. So without any further ado, let's roll the footage at Deer Park Aquarium of this beautiful, fresh Australian SPS delivery. All right, here we are, and Dave is not wasting any time ripping open the bag on box number one. Now let's have a look and see. He's got some nice sized pieces there, but he's spotted an absolute showpiece of a stunner straight out of the bag. Have a look how bright this thing is, just under ambient lighting. We'll have a look at how it looks under tank lights and see whether it lights up even more, which sometimes SPS will, sometimes it won't. But look at the size of this thing. It's bigger than Dave's hand and is absolutely stunning next to that white bucket. Once it gets under tank lights, does it still light up? You bet it does. That is absolutely stunning and a fantastic way to kick off this unboxing. What I think we'll do is we'll go through the unbagging of some of these pieces. I'm not going to go through every single one of them because Dave's got about 60 pieces in here, but we'll have a look at how some of these come out of the bag and how they look under ambient lighting. And then once Dave puts them in the tank, we'll be able to see how they respond to aquarium lighting, which I can say does sometimes vary quite a lot. This piece here looks like a Fuego, which is kind of like a different species of strawberry shortcake, has similar sort of colors, does tend to grow out in a little bit of a tabling fashion though. And I tell you what, it really highlights some of the skills that these wild SPS collectors have to develop over months and years, because some of these pieces don't look all that special under ambient lighting, and then once you put them under aquarium lights they glow, and sometimes they look incredible under ambient lighting and you put them under aquarium lighting and not so much. So it's definitely a skill set that is required, and I cannot underestimate how difficult that must be. So Dave, is, you can see he's got water dripping off his hands here. This one here doesn't look all that special. In fact, it looks almost grey in the hand. Let's see how it looks under tank lights. Okay, it's got a little bit of hint of rainbow colors in there. I'm keen to see how that looks under a DSLR, which we will do. Once all of these pieces have been unbagged and are put into the sale tank, I'll grab the DSLR out. You can see we're onto box number 2 here already, which is flying along, and there's some beautiful big size pieces in there. But once they're all in, I'll grab the DSLR out. We'll have a good close-up look at each and every one of these SPS. Might even do a quick lap of some of the LPS Dave has in as well. And then what we'll do is we'll grab him and put a microphone on him and get Dave to tell us some of his wisdom around wild SPS, because it is something that Dave's got a lot of experience with. Look at this piece here. Incredible. It's like a strawberry shortcake, but the tips are actually a pinky blue color rather than a straight pink. I think they call that a blueberry something, but incredible piece. But what I was saying is Dave's going to take through some of his advice around quarantining, acclimating, dipping, selecting, you name it, anything to do with wild SPS. Dave has been in the game a long time and has seen probably as much wild SPS as pretty much any other retailer in Australia. He does a lot of SPS and has definitely got a taste for it. And you can see here he has great collectors who find the best pieces for him. I will apologize in advance to our international viewers, because when you see the price of these massive, incredibly bright wild Aussie pieces, you're going to possibly break your jaw. It's going to pop open that quickly. These are big, colourful colonies. There's nothing frags about these. In fact, you could probably cut about 20 frags off that piece there. And I do want to take this opportunity as Dave gets to the bottom of box number 2 to have a look here. Coral Focus, where this shipment came from, ship these pieces in ice packs. We are outside of summer here. It's no longer hot in Australia, but they're still shipping them in ice packs, which goes a long way to helping these pieces stay nice and colourful in the bag. You can see they come with a fair amount of water, a few bits of carbon, and some good quality oxygen in the bag to keep these pieces beautiful. Look at the colour on that there. Bright green and yellow on that acro. That is bright. It looks a treat. I cannot wait to get the DSLR on these. In fact, we might do that now because Dave's pretty well finished unboxing. And prepare yourselves for the color, because the DSLR with the filter on it, as you can see there, picks up all of the incredible colors on these. And I gotta say, that Millie up there with the reds and pinks on it through to the teals there. Have a look at the golds on that acro. It's got a little bit of green down the base, but it is yellow and gold at the top. There is that blueberry piece. Have a look how bright the green is with the bright blue tips on it there. There is a strawberry shortcake in comparison, and you can see it's muted a little bit in color, but you'll find it will get brighter once it settles into your tank. This piece here could not possibly get any brighter. This Meliopora with that copper coloration on it there is an absolute showpiece. And we head on down here, have a look at this nice smooth skin there. I think Dave got a few of those in this delivery, and I got a little bit of a soft spot for these smooth skins. Here's another sort of variation of it there, that nice bright green, but the camera has drawn its attention here. Have a look at this purple and gold piece there. Nice long extensions on that new growth there, give it a real point of difference as well. Then you got this green and gold. That was one of the last pieces that went in. Holy moly, that is bright. I love that. Green and gold always gets my heart racing. And then have a look at this piece here. We've got some nice, really nice orangey coppery colors there with some yellow and purple tips. That is something that you don't see too often. If you can keep that color in it, it's going to stand out in your tank so nice. You got this gorgeous piece here with the green and gold through to the purple with a white polyp on it. Got some more Millie here with that nice orangey coppery color to it. Absolutely stunning. We've got this little nuggety piece here which has a assortment of rainbow colors on it. Quite intrigued by that. This piece here with green base, yellow corallites, purple tips. Stunning. Look at the yellow and purple on that. Ridiculously nice. Such a bright coral there. And then down here you've got this beautiful contrasty teal with purple. Head up onto the top of this tank where I will confess the camera is incredibly close to these corals, but I did not want to miss putting the DSLR on them, because when you see things like that, look at the gold in that acro, little bits of purple through there as well. Incredible. I just could not avoid putting the camera on them. And have a look at this for rainbow colors, greens, yellows, purples, pinks. Stunning, stunning piece there. Nice, looks like a pink lemonade, I'm going to say that. Correct me if I've got the street names wrong. I'm not the best on street names with corals. In fact, I'm not the best with Latin names on corals, but I do know colors. Well, despite being colorblind, I guess, I do know the colors I like, and there are plenty of them in this tank here. Look at that beautiful teal colored piece here. It has hints of gold on the corallite. And speaking of hints of gold, have a look at that acro there. Green and gold, ridiculous. That is beautiful. Even has a little bit of blue on the polyps there. Love it. A little bit of chili pepper Monty there. Across onto yet another acro that has some greens and golds. This one's got some mint color in there as well. A little bit of rose gold on the corallites. Beautiful, beautiful coloration. Up into a more strong purple and green piece there. Very contrasty colors, and not going to dilute things with having 5 colors on there, just 2 vibrant colors. Heading on, the camera struggling with that bright gold piece. We'll get to that one in a second. A look at here, we've got a green with a nice little splash of gold on the corallites, purple polyps, and then we come across to this yellow on yellow on yellow. It does have a hint of blue on the new growth, but I don't know, I'm lost for words on that piece. It is bright, and it's massive too. Hopefully whoever gets that one can keep some color in it. It'll probably saturate up a little bit more, maybe lose a little bit of the glow, but there's some Millie there with that ridiculously bright coloration. Piece of strawberry shortcake there that is definitely bright. You can see why people like it. That is a solid red and yellow coloration there. A little bit of chili pepper multipora here, and then some Anicapora, which is a different species of SPS, but interesting to see that nonetheless. Over here, I believe this is a piece of that Fuego, and you can see why people love this. Tabling with green, pink, gold on it. Stunning, stunning stuff. Across here, we've got a nice blue, in fact, a few different shades of blue on this piece here. A little bit of green through the base as well. Very, very nice, and quite a long branch, for lack of better words, on it. Another piece of strawberry shortcake there, a smaller one, but no lacking or not lacking in saturation at all. This piece here, look at the green and gold on it. Stunning, stunning, stunning. Coming on down here to a, looks like a little bit more of that blueberry piece there with the teal base and the bright blue tips on the polyps there. Very nice. Ooh, look at this. Incredible Fuego here with pinks, purples, greens, golds. It's hard to beat that combination of colors. Look at it there, just absolutely glowing. I am definitely a fan of Fuego, and if those colors don't do it for you, I don't think reef keeping's the game for you. Looking at this here, I know I've said green and gold a few times in this video, but yeah, this is crazy. I'm just trying to get the camera around onto it without accidentally fragging it with the DSLR, but man, that's nice. And then if you want something to look even more gold than that one, have a look at this. It's just ridiculous gold, if not a hint of orangey in there. Just shows the difference. I thought the last one was green and gold, and that one's more of a rosy sort of gold. Very, very nice. And then you've got, yeah, more combinations of green and gold. If there was ever any doubt this was an Aussie SPS delivery, that is confirmed with the amount of green and gold. Look at the purples and pinks on that smooth skin there. Very, very nice. And then what do we got over here? Some more milli to round things out. Look at that. Gold corallites, pinks, purples, greens. Incredibly beautiful. And there's just another look at that beautiful green and gold acro there. Now, I will say by this point in time, customers had been crowding around the tank and cherry picking pieces out. You can see they were getting bagged up and flying out the door. There were 4 or 5 customers picking out 3 or 4 pieces each. So I did want to quickly grab some footage of those before they did leave the building. And whilst they don't look amazing under natural light there, have a look at this. We did see this nuggety piece before. You can imagine with the rainbow of colors through that, if that acclimates in and saturates out a little bit more, it's going to be ridiculously cool. And you've also got this piece here that was snapped up by a customer, which has beautiful variation of colors through it, from purples to greens to golds, even a little bit of pink in there. Stunning. But while Dave is sorting out those customers who are coming in like seagulls, cherry picking these beautiful fresh SPS colonies, I thought we'd take an opportunity to have a bit of a quick look through the LPS here, because I do want to hang around and get Dave mic'd up so he can share some of his wealth of knowledge when it comes to selecting and caring for wild Aussie SPS in your tank, because it's something that probably doesn't get discussed enough, and Dave just has years and years of experience of it. So I do want to take an opportunity to grab the man and share some of that knowledge. But in the meantime, let's have a look at this LPS, because some of these torches are very, very bright. I will say, whilst the SPS were getting unbagged, a few customers came in and absolutely swarmed over this torch tank, took a good 10 or 12 pieces out of there. So whilst it seems a little bit sparse at the moment, there's still no shortage of treasures in there, and the colors on them are nothing to shy away. Look at how bright that Hulk green torch is. Incredibly stunning. You can't ask for much more brightness than that. And then you go for the ultimate contrast, you go across to a 24 karat gold here. This one has a green heart on it, just to give it even more contrast. And then we go up to this piece here, which did not enjoy all of the acro slime coming into the same tank, but still shows how bright it is. Heading up to these torches here, you've got some beautiful darker greens with yellow tips, moving across onto the Hulk green, just showing the difference in the greens there. It is dramatic how different 2 green corals can be colored, and then another one of those darker green with yellow tips onto a big 24 karat gold here. You can see that this one is called 24 carats because the entire stem is gold. It's not half purple, half gold. The entire stem of that torch is gold. Heading on down to something that you can't ask for more colors in one piece of coral than that there. That Trachophilia has the full paddle pop colors on it. This one's more of a teal with red. And then when we pan up to this guy up here, you can see it is also teal and red, but it has a bigger amount of red and purple, less teal on it. This hammer here is ridiculously cool. It has gold stems with a mottled color on the anchors. And then you come across to this one, which I think is super, super interesting. It's a little bit more of a copper color with green stems, which is just a point of difference. It might not be the brightest thing in your tank, but when you put it next to something like this one here, which is what I've been calling a holy grail hammer, it has green stems with gold anchors on it and is a massive showpiece. It really highlights the difference in colors and just gives you that beautiful garden spec. This one here is what I'd call more of a bronze. When you compare that to the gold to round this tank out, you can see how different the colors are. And a few of those hammers next to each other are going to give you the ultimate contrast. Rounding out this system, there is a Recordia Yuma. I managed to pick one of these up, green and gold, and they're super, super bright, and love how big they are. Across into the second hammer tank, and Dave is just about finished serving the customers, so we'll race through this. Have a look at some of these fine details on these hammers here. You've got gold on the stem, you've got purple, you've got pink on the anchors. Super, super nice. You can see the flow has been turned on just to help disperse a bit of that acro slime, and the hammers are going to start dancing in that flow. This beautiful reverse hammer there is almost more blue than purple on the tips. Have a look at the close detail on the stems of this hammer here. Green and gold through the stems. Ridiculously cool. Keep that one in a bit of flow so you can see those stems. The mauve tips, not so excited about, but the stems, crazy nice. As opposed to this one, which is just a toxic blotch. Very, very bright. Shows the difference with this one here, which is a solid teal green color, I would say there. But again, testing my color blindness, up into a little bit more of a traditional blotch here, which has probably got a little bit less of the toxic on it, which makes the toxic on it stand out a bit more. Coming across to your traditional ultra reverse frog spawn, and a big one at that. They are such a beautiful coral and can be kept in the same sort of vicinity as your hammers and torch. Here is another one of those hammers that has green and gold through the stems, and it's ridiculously close to the camera, so apologies if your eyes are having trouble focusing like my camera is, but I really wanted to showcase how cool that is, and particularly under a nice macro lens. Green and gold on the stem with a mauve tip. Super, super nice. This one here has the more full anchor shape on the tips here. Pretty standard in coloration, but a big, big piece. And then when we come down onto the base of this tank, and Dave is just preparing himself, putting the microphone on, so we are almost there to share that knowledge on the SPS. Looking down here, you can see a super, super toxic Trachophilia there. The thing is bright green, I'm gonna say green, if not yellow. Coming across to this one, which is a very unusual color with that sort of peach coloration on it. Down to these two pieces here, which showcase a little bit more of a convict stripe coloration. One's got a bit more purple and red, one is more solid green with just a couple of splashes of red. And then we move across onto what I think is the most edible looking type of coral you're ever going to see anywhere. If these red cyanarias do not look like jelly, I don't know what does. They look delicious. I'm 100% certain they're not, and I definitely do not endorse anyone eating coral because I think it'll make you pretty sick, but I'm going to say they look like they'd be tasty. There are also a couple of Australian scollies in this system. I've got to say the fad and craze around scollies has probably died off a little bit, but does not mean they're any less of a beautiful coral. Speaking of beautiful corals, have a look at that rainbow acan there. That thing looks ridiculously cool. And just over to the next to it here, you can see the start of one there. There are a couple of Wilsonis, which are very similar to an acan. They have a similar sort of pattern and coloration, but you can see the difference there. A little bit of a different shape of polyps and the way the maze sort of goes around, but an interesting point of difference nonetheless. Now, I think Dave's ready, so it's probably time we cross over to him, ask him a few questions about this brand new Australian SPS delivery. So Dave, looks like you got a bit of SPS in this week. What spurred that on?
Finally got some acro. It's been 3-4 months now since we've had a big acro shipment, and one of our main acro suppliers went out to hardline, so couldn't pass it up.
You say hardline, like I'm meant to know what that means. Is this some sort of reef somewhere?
It's an outer reef where you get some more of the more delicate species of acro.
Okay. Now I'm assuming we're talking up sort of Queensland, Cairns sort of
region.
region.
Mackay sort of way.
Out that sort of way, yep. And you mentioned that generally brings in a different type of SPS.
Yeah, so you get a lot more of your strawberry shortcake, your more glowy sort of pieces.
Okay, yeah, there's definitely no shortage of glow in this system at the moment, and the one behind you, and that's after, I think about...
It's already been picked through.
Yeah, these have been in the water now for about 20 minutes, and there's been about 5 customers take 5 or 6 each, so You can see what was 2 full systems is now 1, and I was going to say 1.5, but 1.25.
1 and a bit, yep.
So they've been picked out pretty quick.
Never hangs around long.
Definitely not. So you say this was from an outer reef, was it?
Yeah, so basically a lot further out to sea, near the continental drop-off. So the water is pristine.
Yes.
You're talking clean, crisp water, high flow, no contamination. So you're usually getting your more delicate species, a bit more colour, a bit more brightness.
So the conditions we more traditionally associate SPS with.
Yep.
And I'm guessing because when you say it's outer reef, that means it's obviously further out.
Yep.
That it's possibly not always the sort of region that the collectors go to.
Yeah,
because
it's a much bigger trip to go out to it, so it's not something that they frequent as often.
Right.
A lot of the coral we get from the inshore reefs, like Bird's Nest and Millipora and things, are a lot easier to access.
Yeah, okay.
So this is just a much bigger job to get out there to collect. Takes a lot more time, costs a lot more money, but we get a lot more variety and some of the more delicate species.
Nice, nice. Now, do you have a rough idea as to the timeline that how many hours ago these were collected off the reef?
These were collected this weekend, and it's now Monday afternoon, so we're talking
like
a day or 2.
hours or less since these were actually on the Great Barrier Reef.
Going by my tracking, they packed them at like midnight this morning, and they were at the airport in Mackay at 5 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, crazy, crazy. Now, obviously with SPS like this, they're wild collected. They have come from pristine waters out there. You're going to expect to see a little bit of just a little dulling of colour of these before they find their groove in aquarium life?
So they've just been taken from the ocean, thrown in one system, put on an aeroplane, shipped down here, put into a new system. So they're going to be a bit stressed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a bit stressed after a couple of trips like that on a flight. So
generally, once we put them in the tank, they will have a certain colour to them.
Yes.
And over the next 24, 48 hours, they'll actually colour up even more.
Yeah, right.
And we're already seeing that. They're looking brighter to the eye now, about half an hour after first going in there. And by tomorrow morning, they'll look incredible. But then by the end of the week, we'll start to see them dull off a little bit.
Yes.
And that'll last anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks on average. Really good tank will bring them back pretty quickly. An average tank will take a bit longer.
Okay.
But they will start to colour back up again after that few weeks. And they'll usually saturate a bit differently. So some of the colours that you see in there will become a bit more prominent and a bit more like solid, more bold.
Okay, so you find some of the colour strains will be more prolific in aquarium life than some of the other colours, and that can vary from species to species, I imagine. Yeah,
we've got a less full spectrum of light. We've got different colours of lights, heavier blues, that sort of stuff, but also water chemistry, water parameters, different flow rates.
Yes.
So we do see those certain pigments will take over, other pigments will become less or more subdued, and sometimes we'll see complete colour shifts as well.
Super interesting. Now, I've got some questions based on probably some feedback from international reefers that watch this channel. The prices we're looking at on the tank here, this is Australian dollars, obviously. We're in Melbourne, Australia here.
Yep.
We're talking for per piece, per colony. And
per piece.
The size of these colonies, how big are we looking at for?
So I try and buy them at about tennis ball size. That's my measure that I give my suppliers. I just find it suits most people's tanks. These are mostly considerably bigger than that. I'm basically 6 foot tall with a large hand, so
it's pretty full size.
Probably the size of a DVD.
Yep. Solid size piece, and that is $80 Australian for that entire piece.
Yep.
Fresh off the Great Barrier Reef, incredible. Dave, so customers that are in the area, they should head on in ASAP.
Yep.
I know you've had a whole list of customers saying, when are you getting wild SPS?
Definitely. Typically speaking, our first order will sell out very quickly. If it does, we'll get another order in as soon as we can, but it's just hard to get in good numbers. As you can tell, we try to get a few boxes worth at a time.
Yes.
But yeah, pop in. There should be plenty to go to the weekend, and we will try and get some more in next week.
Yeah, awesome. And as you say, it's not just a matter of getting SPS in, it's a matter of getting nice SPS
Nice
in.
SPS and variety and volume.
Yes.
It's not just a case of going and picking it off a shelf. They have to go out to a reef. They have to swim around a reef and find different pieces, different quality, and different things that are desirable for the aquarium. There's a lot of coral out there that wouldn't get touched just because it's not as bright, not as colourful.
Sure.
And they don't all exist within 2-3 metres of each other. There's a fair bit of ground that they've got to cover.
A fair bit of ground you've got to cover, but I can also imagine, I mean, you're talking about outer reef, and this is not where you find, little Nemo and his friends hanging about.
Yeah.
If you have seen Finding Nemo, the outer reef is where some of the big fish hang about. And,
Plenty of tiger sharks.
You get into a little bit of danger territory there.
Yeah.
So you're watching over your shoulder when you're cutting the percentage of the growth of acro out in the wild. So be quite a challenge for collectors. Yeah, nice.
When it comes to acro, one of the big things to look for is not only the colour that you see now, but have a look at some of the finer details. This little yellow guy here, it's very yellow to the eye, but you take a really close look and there's just like this orange through it. There's some different coloured polyps. And that subtle colour is probably more likely to come out in the aquarium compared to in the wild. But that's another thing that's great about wild SPS is it's a lucky dip. You get an idea of what you're getting, but it might change completely. You can see this little pink guy down here. You've got a yellow base, pink with purple axial tips.
Yes.
Chances are it's going to go a nice red or orange colour over time as it saturates. This guy here has like 3 or 4 different fades through it. That's probably going to become a really rich purple colour over time and probably lose that contrast. But the nice silver coloured polyps there will give it that extra pop.
Still shine through. So that's something that just comes with years of experience of seeing box after box of wild SPS come in, spend some time in aquarium conditions and just see a little bit of a pattern. I know each one can do its own thing, but typically, I mean, as big as the Great Barrier Reef is, it's a finite resource and there's only, a finite number of species out there. So you start to see some of the common things over time and you get to see some patterns of how they react.
Shift in our captive life. Another good one for that is the strawberry shortcake. It's super popular overseas. It's pretty common here in Australia, to be honest. But you can grab that piece and you can pop it in your tank and it'll probably go chocolate brown. It's one of those pieces that will almost always brown out completely.
Yes.
You give it that 6-8 weeks and it'll just change all of a sudden. But you can get this one piece, put it over here in the tank and you'll get one color, put it over here, it'll be a different color, over here it'll be a different color.
Sure.
You get different brightnesses on the pink or the reds, the greens and the yellows. You can have that same piece fragmented into 4 pieces and end up with three or 4 different color variations just from that one strawberry shortcake.
Yeah, crazy.
And that just comes down to its position in the tank.
It is a very dramatic coral in regards to how it reacts in an aquarium life, which does lead me to a question. With wild collected SPS, I know SPS can be pretty finicky on dips and things like that, but we are talking wild corals that were taken off the reef recently. When it comes to customers adding these wild SPS to their tanks, do you have any sort of recommended acclimation or treatment process, or you think just straight in is the best?
It's a hard question. Prevention is always better than a cure.
Yes.
But for me, I just get them in the tank, get them happy, get them settled, and that way they can spend that time and energy healing up their cuts, attaching to your rock and starting to colour back up again.
Yep. Over the years of getting wild Australian SPS, I'm imagining you've not actually seen that many pests come in on them.
It's extremely uncommon. We see a lot of acro crabs come in, which I think are beneficial.
Absolutely. It's a cool little bit of point of differentiation to your SPS.
When it comes to flatworm and stuff, it's always off the aquaculture stuff. Ballast or green slimer here is horrendous for it.
Yes.
But the wild stuff for me, I find very little issues with it. I've never had to treat my system from wild stuff to do it. I'm sure it'll happen one day, especially now that I've said that.
I've put you on the spot now.
But we are also lucky this day and age. We know there's a lot of different medicines, some worming stuff that we can use to eradicate that now, which is fairly gentle on the system as well.
Yes.
But again, prevention always better than a cure. But yeah, I'd like to give them as little stress as possible. Get them in, get them settled, get them happy. So if you're worried about that, a little coral quarantine might be the way to go.
Sure. Okay. I guess that is one of the benefits of our strict coral import laws here in Australia, where we can't bring corals in, so we don't get exposure to all of those pests around the world.
It's not as prolific here. It does happen, people do get it, but I do find that it's mostly from aquaculture stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. No, I appreciate you taking the time to, one, let us see this new stock right as it comes out of the bag into the tanks, but also to spend a couple of minutes with us just talking through where it's collected from, some of the things to look out for. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
All right, guys, there you have it. That was the unboxing of a beautiful assortment of wild Australian SPS. In my opinion, as good as it gets. You can see such a huge variety of different species, growth patterns, colors, and little subtle differences from piece to piece. It is just a treasure trove of acro for anyone out there that enjoys SPS. Now, I will start to wrap things up here, but I do want to give a massive shout out to these names on screen here. These are my channel members who chip in a couple of dollars each and every month to make these videos possible. And for all of their support, I humbly appreciate everything you do. For everyone else who wants to support the channel but does not have a couple of dollars to spare each month, I totally get you. Trust me on that one. You can support the channel by hitting the subscribe button in the bottom corner down there. That takes 2 seconds of your time and will not cost a cent today, tomorrow, or anytime. But it does help the channel quite a lot, so I would appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. Other than that, if you have any questions, comments, feedback, anything like that at all, be sure to pop it in the comment section down below. I do personally reply to each and every comment there, so it is the best way to get hold of me. And I also want to say, if you're the sort of person that enjoys a podcast, be sure to check out a brand new podcast that has just hit Spotify called The Submerged Podcast. I am fortunate enough to be one of the panel members on there, and we're talking all things Aussie reef keeping. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to check The Submerged Podcast out. Other than that, guys, I will wrap things up there. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time, stay safe, keep reefing. Cheers, bye. Okay, if you've hung around this long, you deserve a little bit of bonus content. And just as I was about to leave the door at Dave's shop, I could not help but notice how much these SPS had colored up in just a few extra minutes in the aquarium. It's amazing how a little bit of light, a little bit of flow, and obviously some warmer water helps settle these things in. Look at the colors of these pieces. Absolutely glowing. So you can understand I was not going to walk out the door and not grab the camera out and get a little bit more footage to share with you. Just a quick lap around these two systems at the end that have all the SPS and the high-end LPS, because man, whilst I did not purchase any SPS, I wanted to make sure Dave's loyal customers had first opportunity to grab any of the sticks here. If there's any that I like, after a week, I might snap some up then. So without coming home with bags and bags of sticks, I wanted to make sure I came home with heaps and heaps of footage of those sticks so that I could remember them by. And of course, like Dave said, if you are local to Melbourne, head on in-store, purchase some of these sticks. As soon as these ones sell, the sooner he gets more in. And I personally would love to see things back to the heyday of Deer Park Aquarium, when the unboxing each and every week was a massive event. Heaps and heaps of people would turn out and see all of these fresh SPS get unboxed right there before their eyes. And it happened weekly with multiple boxes of stock. So if you want to see that happen, come on down to Deer Park Aquarium, pick out some SPS, try your luck with some wild collected Aussie SPS, because personally, I think it is the epitome of the reefing game down under. But of course, if you like the squishy stuff, check out these track affiliates as well. Incredible range of stock, Deer Park Aquarium. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.